Welcome to Mayfidav TV. You are highly welcomed. Please kindly subscribe, like and share this video. Thank you. Ibrahim Traoré's leadership in Burkina Faso represents a significant shift not only in the nation's governance, but also in the broader African political landscape. At 35, he has defied the norms that often see leaders clinging to power for decades, and instead, he has chosen to focus on meaningful, transformative change. His actions reflect a deep commitment to the principles of democracy, sovereignty, and economic independence, setting a powerful example for other leaders across the continent. This approach is particularly striking in a region where promises of reform often go unfulfilled, and where the interests of the people are frequently sacrificed in favor of maintaining the status quo. Traoré's decision to step down from office, despite widespread public support for an extension of his term, is a rare demonstration of political integrity. In an era where many leaders manipulate constitutional laws to extend their rule indefinitely, his willingness to prioritize the democratic process over personal power has resonated deeply with citizens, both in Burkina Faso and beyond. This move underscores his belief that true leadership is about serving the people and upholding their right to choose their leaders, rather than about accumulating power for its own sake. The creation of Burkina Faso's Treasury Deposits Bank is a landmark achievement in Traoré's push for economic independence. By establishing this institution, Burkina Faso is no longer solely reliant on the central bank of West African states, which has historically been influenced by French interests. This move is more than just a financial maneuver. It is a declaration of sovereignty and a step towards breaking free from the neocolonial structures that have long dictated the economic policies of Francophone African nations. The bank represents a tangible shift in power, allowing Burkina Faso to control its financial destiny and to use its resources in ways that directly benefit its people. Traoré's overhaul of the mining sector is another significant stride towards economic self-sufficiency. By taking control of the nation's gold reserves and ensuring that the profits from these resources stay within the country, Burkina Faso is challenging the exploitative practices that have plagued the continent for centuries. This initiative not only provides a substantial boost to the national economy, but also empowers the country to chart its own course in the global market. The production of gold bars by 2024 will serve as a powerful symbol of Burkina Faso's newfound economic strength and independence, marking a pivotal moment in the nation's history. On the global stage, Traoré's rhetoric and actions have made it clear that Burkina Faso is no longer willing to be a pawn in the geopolitical games of more powerful nations. His speeches at international summits have been bold and unapologetic, highlighting the ways in which Africa has been manipulated and exploited by external powers. Traoré's forthrightness in addressing these issues has earned him both admiration and criticism, but has also positioned Burkina Faso as a leader in the fight for a more just and equitable international order. His willingness to speak truth to power is a refreshing departure from the often timid and conciliatory stance taken by many African leaders in the face of Western dominance. Corruption has long been a scourge in African governance, undermining development and eroding public trust in institutions. Traoré's vigorous anti-corruption campaign is a direct response to this challenge. By creating oversight bodies within all government ministries and taking swift action against those found guilty of corruption, he is sending a clear message that unethical behavior will not be tolerated. This approach is critical in restoring faith in the government and ensuring that public resources are used for the benefit of the people, rather than being siphoned off by corrupt officials. Traoré's commitment to transparency and accountability is laying the foundation for a new era of governance in Burkina Faso, one where the needs of the people are prioritized over the interests of the few. Traoré's efforts to strengthen the military are a necessary response to the security challenges facing Burkina Faso. The country has been plagued by terrorist attacks and internal conflict, and a strong, well-equipped military is essential for maintaining stability and protecting the nation's sovereignty. Traoré's recruitment drives and partnerships with international suppliers demonstrate his commitment to building a capable and resilient defense force. This focus on military preparedness is not only about defending Burkina Faso's borders. It is also about ensuring that the country can take an active role in regional security and contribute to the broader fight against terrorism in West Africa. In the realm of diplomacy, Traoré is redefining how Burkina Faso engages with the world. His commitment to honesty and mutual respect in international relations is a stark contrast to the often manipulative and self-serving tactics that have characterized global diplomacy. By prioritizing transparency and genuine dialogue, Traoré is building stronger, more equitable partnerships that are based on mutual benefit rather than exploitation. This approach is enhancing Burkina Faso's standing on the world stage and is setting a new standard for how nations, particularly those in the global south, can assert their interests in a globalized world. Culturally, Traoré has been a vocal advocate for the decolonization of African identities. He has highlighted the ways in which external powers have used cultural symbols and narratives to undermine African self-worth and to impose their values on the continent. By challenging these distorted perceptions and advocating for a return to authentic African cultural expressions, Traoré is helping to reclaim and celebrate the rich cultural heritage of Burkina Faso and the wider African continent. This cultural revival is an essential component of his broader vision for a more independent and self-reliant Burkina Faso, where the people are empowered to define their own identity and destiny. Traoré's leadership has not been without its challenges. His outspoken criticism of the Ivorian regime, for example, has sparked controversy and drawn criticism from some quarters. However, Traoré has remained steadfast in his principles, refusing to back down in the face of opposition. His willingness to address contentious issues head-on, rather than avoiding them for the sake of diplomatic niceties, is a testament to his commitment to transparency and truth. This approach, while sometimes polarizing, is crucial in fostering an open and honest dialogue about the issues facing Burkina Faso and the wider region. Ibrahim Traoré is leading Burkina Faso through a period of profound transformation. His actions and policies are reshaping the country's political, economic, and cultural landscape, setting it on a path towards true independence and self-reliance. His bold leadership is challenging the entrenched systems of power that have long held Africa back and is inspiring a new generation of leaders to imagine a different future for the continent. As Burkina Faso continues to forge its own path, free from the constraints of external influence, Traoré's legacy will likely be seen as a turning point in the history of African governance, a moment when the continent began to truly take control of its own destiny. His vision and determination are paving the way for a new era of African leadership. Ibrahim Traoré's emergence as a young and dynamic leader has positioned Burkina Faso at the forefront of a larger movement across Africa, where the younger generation is increasingly taking control of the continent's political landscape. At just 35, Traoré represents a new breed of leaders who are determined to forge a path distinct from that of their predecessors, characterized by a strong commitment to autonomy, transparency, and the empowerment of their nations. His leadership style, marked by boldness and a readiness to challenge the status quo, is reflective of a broader desire among African nations to break free from the lingering influences of colonialism and neocolonialism, asserting their right to self-determination. Traoré's dedication to democratic principles is evident in his decision to honor his commitment to step down from office, even in the face of widespread public demand for him to extend his tenure. This decision highlights his belief in the importance of adhering to democratic norms and respecting the will of the people, setting him apart from many leaders in the region who have manipulated political systems to maintain power indefinitely. Traoré's willingness to relinquish power underscores his commitment to building a political culture where the rule of law and respect for democratic institutions take precedence over personal ambition. The creation of Burkina Faso's Treasury Deposits Bank is a cornerstone of Traoré's economic agenda, signaling a clear intention to reclaim control over the country's financial future. This move is part of a larger strategy to dismantle the economic structures that have kept African nations dependent on external powers, particularly former colonial rulers. By establishing a national financial institution that operates independently of the central bank of West African states, Traoré is taking a decisive step towards economic sovereignty. This new bank will not only manage the nation's gold reserves, but also serve as a key instrument in implementing policies that prioritize the needs of Burkina Faso's citizens over the interest of foreign entities. Traoré's reforms in the mining sector are another pivotal aspect of his vision for economic independence. By asserting control over Burkina Faso's gold reserves, Traoré is challenging the historical patterns of resource exploitation that have long benefited foreign powers at the expense of African nations. These reforms are not merely about increasing national revenue. They are about ensuring that the wealth generated from the country's natural resources is used to build a sustainable and prosperous future for its people. Traoré's approach to resource management is a powerful statement of his commitment to reversing the legacy of exploitation and ensuring that Burkina Faso's wealth is harnessed for the benefit of its citizens. On the international front, Traoré has positioned himself as a strong advocate for African autonomy and dignity. His speeches at international forums are marked by a forthrightness that challenges the often diplomatic and guarded tone of global discourse. Traoré's insistence on addressing the legacies of colonialism and the ongoing exploitation of Africa by external powers reflect his belief in the necessity of redefining Africa's role on the global stage. His approach to international relations is grounded in the principle of equality, where African nations engage with the rest of the world on their own terms, free from the impositions of former colonial powers. Domestically, Traoré's anti-corruption initiatives are a critical component of his governance strategy. He recognizes that corruption has been a significant impediment to development in many African countries and is taking proactive steps to address this issue within his administration. By establishing oversight bodies across all government ministries and taking swift action against those involved in corrupt practices, Traoré is working to create a government that is transparent, accountable, and truly representative of the people's interests.